Hi, good afternoon or good evening, Gladys. How are you today?
Thank you.
Awesome.
I'm good. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be on the show.
I'm sure not as excited as I am. It's not every day that I talk to the most beautiful woman in the country, you know, so I am I am absolutely
That's so kind of
thrilled.
you.
I am thrilled, Gladys. I am absolutely so happy for you to join me today for our crucial COVID conversations. And Gladys is
Amazing.
joining me all the way from the Happy Isles, a place that I also call home, one of the most beautiful places in the world, the Solomon Islands. Gladys, where are you today? Are you in Honiara today?
Yeah, I'm in Honiara. It's quite hot. I think it's about to rain soon. Yeah, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know this amazing South Pacific island, it is always hot and it's always beautiful. So it's hard to beat that place, and I miss it very much, and I can't wait to get back. So, yes, as I've mentioned, I am absolutely thrilled to be joined today by Gladys Habu. Gladys is the current. I mean, I don't know. Is it still current, or when does the?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Got that right. And
We're still current.
reigning Miss Solomon Islands. So guys, I'm going to do a short little blurb on your bio, and please feel free to add anything that I have missed, or if I didn't do you justice. You're such a beautiful, inspirational person. I don't want to miss anything. Feel free to jump in and add. And then I'll maybe share a short little story of how we got to know each other and how we certainly became friends and did some really cool things. So sorry, guys, I have a fly around. So if you see it, please just, let me just get it out of the way. So Gladys Habu, representing Solomon Islands, is a climate activist who has campaigned for many years on local and international levels to advocate for increased awareness of the impact of climate change in the Solomon Islands and across the world. Your climate change work has been focused and you've become an amplified voice of those directly affected by climate change. And you'll share that story with us later, and it led to this beautiful award that you've just won, or just been appointed to, I should say, rather. You particularly in ensuring that small island developing states are encouraged to be part of global discussions on environmental issues, because isn't it true, our small islands are the ones that is affected mostly by what happens in the rest of the world. Recently, your climate change work was recognized by Her Majesty the Queen, and you became the 106th Hi Gladys, we're back again. I'm sorry, we had a little technical glitch, and that happens sometimes when we are connecting from literally one side of the world to the other. And we were talking about Gladys's wonderful little bio, and my last point was recently.
Thank you so much for being patient.
Thank you, Gladys. And we're finishing off your little bio, and recently your climate change work was recognized by none other than Her Majesty the Queen, and you became the 168th Commonwealth Point of Light awardee. Wow. Gladys is also a pharmacy honors graduate from Monash University and works as a full-time pharmacist at the Solomon Islands National Referral Hospital. You are also a UNICEF and Pacific supporter, ambassador, and focusing on improving child and maternal health. Wow, how absolutely fabulous. Welcome, Gladys. So that is one impressive little bio, not so little anymore. Gladys, have I missed anything?
No, I think you've got everything there. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. So I just want to quickly share with those listening how we got the pleasure to actually connect. Of course, I knew about this amazing, wonderful, inspiring woman that's doing so many good things for the right reasons. But last year, due to COVID, and it kind of falls really nicely into our crucial COVID conversations, last year during COVID, I was quite down on International Youth Day. And actually, I would probably kind of say depressed on International Youth Day. I mean, our borders were closed. I didn't have anything to put on social media, and I was just really down. And I wish I could have done more for our people in the Solomons. I was stuck abroad. And then this idea came to me to try and work with our wonderful guests, our friends, our people that are supporters of the Solomon Islands and Dive Munda. And I've launched the International Youth Sponsorship Campaign, where initially I just wanted to train 30 people or 30 Solomon Island youth, local Solomon Island youth, to become scuba divers. And then through wonderful partnerships, beautiful friends, and also very specifically through Gladys, as well as another wonderful Solomon Island superstar, soccer star, came on board as ambassadors for the youth training program. And Gladys, you became a diver yourself with us, and you helped us just elevate this youth training sponsorship program that we ran for about 4 or 5 months, and we ended up training 105 local Solomon Island youth to become scuba divers, 60%, actually even more, female, young girls. How inspiring, and you were part of that, and that's how we met, right? And just thank you so much for your participation. How did you experience that?
Oh my goodness, I am so happy that you considered having me on board as an ambassador. That was an amazing experience. I never had that ever in life before, and I will never forget it. Yeah, it was a really good way to learn how to really appreciate the ocean, and as an islander and having never scuba dived before, and just being there, having to engage with other Solomon Islander youth, it was really lovely. So thank you as well for having that brilliant idea and getting us all involved in that. Yeah.
You are absolutely very welcome, Gladys. I mean, you were so inspiring through that. You have really given so many Solomon Island girls the opportunity to see you as a role model and find inspiration through you becoming a diver. And you know that female empowerment and opening up the dive industry and just the waters period for our young women and girls and females to enter that space is also a big passion of mine. And what you stood for and what you've done for our youth in the Solomons was just phenomenal. And that was during a year when things were pretty tough. And even for us in the Solomons, things are still pretty tough, even for us in the tourism sector. But you've done remarkable things during a really tough year. I love your positivity, I mean, your perspective. And you've also won multiple awards, and you are always in the news, standing up, writing articles in terms of us raising awareness in terms of climate change. And as you are, of course, an environmental activist, you really lead by example for us in South Pacific nations, especially for the youth and for women, to understand that each one of us have a part to play in this big global catastrophe, really. You also have, and maybe we should start with this story, Gladys. I think it's so beautiful and wonderful. So I want to quote you, and I'm going to just find this quote. You wrote, and it's part of this award that you've recently received, but your work on talking about the sinking islands and your amazing role as female and youth role model, not just for the Solomons, but internationally, of course, as a Pacific Islander, and it led you to win this award by Her Majesty the Queen. And you told the story that as a kid, you were personally and profoundly affected by seeing the sinking islands. And I want to quote you, and then I want to ask you to tell us this little story. You said, we found ourselves driving the boat over Kale, which is one of your island, really. It was completely underwater, and it was just so unreal. I had to do something to protect the environment and use my voice. Thank you for using your voice. Tell us about that story, how it all started. Wow.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, where to begin? I always find it difficult here, but honestly, I guess I've always had such a passion for looking after the environment, because growing up from a very young age, I literally observed how climate change and other environmental issues have been really affecting um, us here in the Solomon Islands. Um, so initially, it was more, just observation and just learning about the environment. And then once I got into high school, I started to do more research about global warming and how it is affecting us and how it is causing sea level rise and that sort of stuff. And so I didn't really have much of a platform back then to really voice out my concerns, but I was I was seeing Kale Island, which is an island that my grandparents used to live at, continuously shrink in size every year that we went back for holidays. And, I remember this one time in 2009, we decided to go for a picnic. And honestly, as we approached the island, it looked as if though there was only 10 trees left. Like I could literally count it when, as a child, I remember having to hold my mom's hand or my dad's hand, and like we couldn't go on about in the island by ourselves because it was just so thick of forest. But then from afar, that year 2009, I could literally see it right through the island, and I was shocked. Yeah, I was like, okay, there's something really wrong here. Why is this happening? And I guess I didn't really think that it was going to completely disappear, but I knew that it was drastically smaller than it used to be. So I took a photo and I started then documenting photographic evidence of Kale. I was only 14 years old at the time. I didn't know how significant these photos are going to be one day, but I did it anyways. And
wow,
by 2014, 5 years later, only 5 years later, we decided to go back, and we woke up one morning, we were like, let's go for a picnic on Kale. And we just find ourselves driving over the whole island. No trees at all, nothing, just dead stamps like sticking out of the ocean. It was unbelievable. Like I honestly can't even describe it out. We were all very, very, very surprised at what we were looking at. And I had a video taken as well at the same time. Yeah, it's so unbelievable.
wow.
So yeah, that's Kale Island. It's literally the biggest drive behind all that I'm doing now in terms of environment and climate advocacy, and just that knowledge of, knowing that my grandparents used to live there. It used to be a much bigger island, and then now having it completely gone because of climate change, sea level rise, and knowing that this is not the only story in the Pacific Islands. I'm pretty sure other people in the Pacific have seen similar situations as well. It's really sad, especially when we are at the receiving end of this climate crisis.
Wow, I mean, I had goosebumps as you were telling that story because, first of all, kudos for you for maybe not even knowing at the time, but capturing such a significant piece of now history that helped you create this international platform for raising awareness and talking about climate change and being the activist that you are, and really being able to show documented evidence. And you have this amazing personal story as well. And those are the things that we need. This is all about crucial COVID conversations, and we are about trying to raise awareness, and we're trying to bring topics that COVID, shoved to the forefront, that was long perhaps ignored and wasn't really, talked about, and we didn't converse about these things in the same way. But this topic is 100% the one that we should be talking about right now. You know, it is your personal story and this beautiful platform that you have created in terms of your success and your vision, so to speak. I mean, you may not realize it, but having the opportunity, that moment to think about, oh yeah, I'm just going to take a picture, and then continuing to document it. I mean, this shows such amazing foresight for a 14-year-old Solomon Island girl to be able to start thinking about these things. And little did you know, but now this is the reason for not just the awards. I mean, those things are amazing, but it is actually spreading the word, raising awareness, communicating and telling people that, and especially, you know, and I get very upset about this because it's also something that's really near and dear to me. Us, other Western world, developing countries, you know, we are very quick to comment and very quick to try and find excuses for making changes, but it is very often, almost always, us in the developing countries, in the developing nations, island nations, small developing island communities, that we are the direct recipient of what happens in the rest of the world. And because of perhaps infrastructure, money and development that's not there, we can't really do much about it. We just have to receive it. And I think this is why it has to stop. And voices like yours giving these stories and platforms like you have created yourself, and even this to some extent is helping us understand that COVID now has given us time to pause, and we know change is coming, and let's make sure that whatever we choose in terms of the changes coming, that we choose better. We are better people. We do the right thing. Whew, sorry, I can get quite emotional about it. And I'm so glad that you that you have raised this, and it must be even 100% more emotional for you as the recipient and the person sharing this personal story. Okay, let's jump, because I don't want us to get too excited too early on. Tell me who you are, Gladys, and what gets you out of bed every day, apart from the climate change stuff.
I guess you've pretty much said everything that I've been doing. You know, professionally, I'm a pharmacist. I am, you know, I love working within the medicine field. I'm very passionate about that. Outside of the hospital, though, I engage a lot of, in a lot of advocacy work for the environment and space. And then as Miss Solomon Islands, I've been doing a lot of advocacy for cancer, particularly for female cancers, so breast and cervical cancers, as they are two of the leading causes of death by cancer here in Solomon Islands. And I am a UNICEF Pacific supporter as well, so in that sense, I support child and maternal health. And I guess what gets me out of bed every day is knowing that once or whilst I still am able to, I know I have a part to play in looking after myself, our people, our home, and ultimately our planet. And that's why most of my work is surrounding health and the environment. I feel if I grow old knowing that these things are happening and I never contributed once, you know, to making some change anywhere in my lifetime, I would be devastated. I don't think I'll die a happy lady. So I am doing it now because I know that it is important for me to play my part when I still can. And that way, you know, when I reach older age, I'd be very happy with myself for what I've done.
And that is exactly why you are such an inspiring individual, and you are a force to be reckoned with, and you have this amazing energy that actually focuses on the right things. It's really interesting because I had a wonderful discussion with a very good friend of mine this morning where we were talking about priorities during COVID-19 and people struggling. And, you know, he was commenting that it's sometimes frustrating right now to talk to people and hear people talk about material things, health, no, not health, I wish, well-being and money and, you know, focusing on the wrong things, where you've just really verbalized it perfectly. It's focusing on the right things right now, you know, what is important? Our environment is important. And he was saying as well, because he's just as passionate as us about the environment, and we should not be thinking about all these other things. Who cares how much money you have in the bank? That money right now is not going to help you in 10 years when we have no ocean left, we have no fish left, when we have, you know, entire communities that sits without a home, you know, and so I'm glad you're bringing it up, because it is something that is absolutely true. And you know, I just want to highlight something else that you're saying. And people that know me very well probably get sick and tired of me always saying the same thing. But I truly believe that you and I, we need to be the change that we see in the world. And every one of us have or has the power to make a difference. And we should all try. And that's exactly what you are doing right now. And
Exactly.
and you are doing such powerful things, you know, just by doing one or two things. The aftermath of that and the changes that you are instigating and the awareness that you are creating are changing, it's changing people's lives. And that is so powerful. Gladys, never stop doing that, because that is exactly what each one of us should do. And I'm talking about it now, hopefully will inspire some other people as well that feel down, that feel depressed, that feel that they are not making a difference. Rest assured, each one of us, if we do the right things, we are making a difference, right?
Yes, for sure, for sure.
So what did you learn from the year that is 2020?
Oh wow, that year.
You know, the one that we don't count.
Yeah. Did it even happen? No, I'm joking.
No.
Well, I have learned that maintaining good health first and good relationships with people around you is very, it's key to staying positive, especially when we've all sort of come to see that even something so small as the coronavirus can flip the whole world around before we know it. There's so many, different battles that we face within ourselves and around us. And so we can't really choose to fight each one of them in isolation. I feel that although prioritization is important, we must not forget that there are other existing battles that we still have. And unless we give our attention to that or to working towards realistic solutions for these existing problems, then we're not going to progress well. So I also acknowledge that amidst all these challenges, there is not one that I'm able to fight alone, and hence the significance of having supportive people around me and you. With all that's been happening with COVID-19, as much as my heart goes out to all of the people who have been affected, I also like to say that we can all learn so much from this pandemic, particularly in reminding us all about the importance of basic hygiene and health principles, and most importantly, seeing how much greener the planet has become in this past year, and using this as our baseline going forward in our fight for a climate safe future. Yeah, I think that's in a nutshell what I've learned from 2020.
Even if I wanted to, I couldn't have said it as eloquently as you did. But I mean, beautifully said and spot on and 100% true. So let's just highlight a few things that you've said. I mean, number one is, and this is also, again, we are so in line because it's also one of my personal passions, that it is a health pandemic and a crisis. It is an economic crisis. It's a human social crisis. But it's also a human rights crisis. And the other thing, it's a mental health and well-being crisis. And because very often we forgot to take care of ourselves, we forgot to address people's mental health and wellness issues, COVID now has brought it to the forefront. And we are just seeing the tip of the iceberg, because we are still fighting this invisible enemy across the world. Once this is over, it's going to start coming out as long, not even just the long COVID health and wellness issues that we know now has become part of the after effect and the symptoms, but because people lost people they love, people lost businesses. I know how it feels. People lost so many things. And if we don't acknowledge, if we don't talk about it, if we don't make mental health as important as all the other health, we're going to see ourselves in a big conundrum in the next several months. So I love the fact that you've brought it up, because it is important that you look after yourself. And another really cool thing that I want to just highlight that you've brought up, and again, something that I feel very strong about, and I completely agree with you, is you see me hashtag all the time. We are all in this together. And if one thing has come out during COVID, it is the world unanimously together, stood together and fought this invisible enemy and still fighting it. And the value of connection and conversations like you and I are having. Yes, yes, exactly. It is so important, you know, and if anything, we realize it now, and we know what we are missing when we don't have that. So again, it comes back to when we make decisions now moving forward, let it be for the right reasons. Let it be for people. Let it be for environment. Let it be for, you know, kindness and care. Let it be for the right things. Hey?
Yes. No, you're definitely right. I agree with you.
So then on a happier note, or maybe not yet, but what makes you look forward to the rest of this year? I know we're kind of now in March already. I mean, can you believe it?
Yeah.
And,
so fast, isn't it?
Oh, and half of the world, more than half of the world are struggling and fighting this health battle every day, you know, for us in some places. And I know in the Solomon Islands, we are insulated to some extent still from the medical issues and health, but we are 100% affected with all the other things, right? So what do you look forward to, Gladys, this year? What do you think is going to help you deal with this year? And what do you look forward to? What keeps you motivated?
I guess, you know, I hope that 2021 is a year for change for everyone, but change that is more positive and more productive. I feel that with all that we've learned in 2020, we have no excuse but to work towards making at least the most of this year. Starting with getting our basics right, you know, making sure we have a more concrete foundation to build ourselves upon, and you know, we are able to avoid preventable issues. You know, I think there will be a lot more challenges this year as well. It's not going to be easier in any way, but you know, knowing that we've been able to pull through a global pandemic gives me hope that we will be able to successfully overcome any future obstacles. And yeah, for me, I think it's important to just keep setting new goals as we go, because I find happiness in achieving, you know, more things as I go on. It gives me pleasure, and I think that's what people should do too. Like, you know, don't just achieve something and then that's it. You know, just keep setting new heights for yourself, challenge yourself to become better each time. And for me, as I go, I hope, you know, finishing off from Miss Solomon Islands, I can hand over to another girl who's going to carry herself and, you know, be able to build herself up as much as I did, or even more than I did. And maybe down the line I'd get further studies. I don't know, but that's something that I am really looking forward to as well. And not forgetting, we've got COP 26 coming up this year, which I hope goes well, and which I really strongly feel we should have Pacific Island representation there as well. Yeah, in every single room, and make sure that our stories are told loud and true to everyone at COP26.
Goosebumps. Right. Okay. I mean, like, okay, excellent. I agree with you. I think it is important that we keep on fighting to make voices like yours being heard. And as you were talking, you were making me think of something else that, you know, it's not a blueprint, But I'm starting to pick up common trends of all these people that I have invited to talk to me on this Crucial COVID Conversations initiative. And hearing you talk made me think, well, let's actually start putting it on the table, because there are things that people, it's not necessarily successful in the monetary sense of word or whatever. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking people that are able to successfully start fighting this crisis in the right way have. And positivity, obviously, you're shining it out, and you're this beacon of light, but resilience, and also what you've just said, I think this is so important, is not just, about passion and persistence, but also pushing yourself and continue. If you hear, you also have something else to look forward to. And that makes me start thinking about the concept of hope, and always having something to work towards. And those are really fundamental mental health and well-being concepts, where you must have something to look forward to. And if you don't really right now see it because you don't have that perspective, well, you got to go and find it. You have to always have that something to work forward to, and to push. And you've just really summed it up quite nicely, because that's what makes you look forward to 2021, having something to look forward to. And when it's dark and when you're down, you can't really see that. So you have to almost actively make a point of starting to put those things in your calendar, and starting to write it down and have this vision board or journal, so that you can start seeing these things, right? Very good point. Thank you for bringing that up, Gladys. I think it's really super cool. I know we talked a little bit about this wonderful recent achievement as the 168th recipient of the Commonwealth Point of Light Award. I mean, it's phenomenal. And I recently saw that you were featured on BBC, really talking about climate change, and obviously becoming part of the COP 26 and all of these things. So I'm curious, what does this mean to you as a Pacific Island woman, and what does it mean to you? How does it make you feel? And how do you see that helping us during this crisis?
Thank you. Yeah, oh my goodness. Like I've said before, the loss of our island, Kale, it has indeed sparked this new driving me to really do as much as I can to help advocate for the environment, and for realistic climate action. And having known that my grandparents once lived there, when it was much bigger, like a much bigger island, it, like, to me, seeing it come to complete non-existence has been really shocking. And I know that it's unique. It's a unique story in the sense that millions of people around the world have not seen anything like this. But at the same time, there are people in the Pacific that have seen this. And the saddest thing is people, like our people, islanders, the effects of climate change, sea level rise, all this has become somewhat normal when it shouldn't. It's the wrong illusion, like people are starting to accept that, this is something that we see every now and then, but it shouldn't be like that, and so, like, for me, all this to me, like, makes me really question my future, but also our future as a whole, and the future of our planet. And it's unfair that unsustainable human activities going on around the world in recent years, that is contributing to accelerating this climate crisis, is, from our end, it's almost negligible, and yet we are the ones facing the impact on the front line.
Exactly.
I don't want our people to continue thinking that this is normal. I want people to start having these conversations, talking about their own personal experiences of loss and damage by climate change, and also just really telling each other that this is not how it should be, and we shouldn't be accepting this. We should be the ones who are leading this global fight. and as a Pacific Islander, we, coming from countries where we do not, first of all, have too many industries, we're not emitting a lot of greenhouse gases. So in a way, we don't have much to do in terms of reaching our climate safe targets. We are the ones who should be leading this. And the more action that we give out as islanders ourselves, I feel like we'll gain more support from other Western countries, and I hope they be able to engage and empathize with us and come on board. And as a female, this is something that a lot of women in the Pacific Islands not always come out and talk about, but we are the ones who are also part of the most vulnerable group of people in these communities. So it's important that we come out and speak out as much as possible. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Honestly, I've never ever thought about getting an award from the Queen. That's honestly something I've never expected. And so when it happened, it really took me away. And I think the most important thing that came out of it is people not only recognized this award, but they started to talk more about climate change. And I've seen it on the media. I've seen different provinces come out with photos of the villages, the communities, the people that are affected. And it just makes me happy that I'm not the only one who's going through this. There are other people going through it in different ways, and their stories need to come out too, as much as possible, not just mine. Yeah.
Wow. Absolutely. And I think not only are you 100% worthy of this wonderful award. I know you didn't expect it, but sometimes things happen in the most unexpected ways, and it gives you the power and the freedom and the responsibility also. I mean, that's, not that I want to put it on you, but it is. I mean, you have this personal story. You've had a wonderful, successful, beautiful career and journey so far. And it's interesting. I read something, and I want to say this now because I think it's important. I read something interesting the other day. The biggest injustice that we can do in society during this time is staying quiet when we shouldn't have. And how powerful is that? And I think what you're saying is...
Yeah, that's so true.
What you're saying is so true. And I'm so thankful, for COVID on one side. And not to disrespect the harm and the terrible things that it has led to, and I know, because I'm an example of that in terms of businesses, perhaps not touch wood health-wise, but certainly from an economic perspective. But not to discredit that, but I'm thankful that COVID has given us this platform that we can't ignore these things anymore. We shouldn't ignore these things anymore. And we have the opportunity now to talk about it. And sorry, I've got this wonderful fly again around. He wants to be part of this crucial COVID conversation. I know, he's just, he wants to be here. But we can see the crisis as the opportunity and giving us this platform. And we know that everybody is thinking differently about climate change. We know people think differently about travel. And to your point, we know now that the work that you have done and COVID, because it's given us time to pause and start thinking about the right things, it has also given permission to our Pacific Islanders to feel okay to start talking about the stuff, not just about mental health and wellness, not just about racial inequality, not just about conservation, but actually things that they are experiencing. They are the recipient of these things, and it's the rest of the world that needs to take notice, because we need to change. The rest of the world needs to make drastic, serious, immediate changes, and the Pacific Island people like you need to talk and need to now use this opportunity that COVID has provided to have these conversations. How powerful is that? Thank you for bringing that up, and thank you for being that voice. It is so important. Whew. Maybe just one other real interesting question from my side, and then we can maybe do some closing messages, Gladys. But and maybe we've talked about this as well, but if you have any other thoughts on this, please share this. as Miss Solomon Islands and through your volunteer work, and obviously your role as an activist, talking about climate change, the work that you've done with the UN and UNICEF, you were able to stay positive in a year that was very hard for most of us. During this crisis, you continued to push, and you were out in the media, and you were doing the right thing. And you motivated not just me, but many other people as well, and people in the Pacific Island, and females and youngsters. Um, and you never forgot the bigger picture. You knew that you had to be the change. So as you take in all these learnings from 2020 and how 2021 has started, what do you think is practical tips that you can help share with us? What are the things that we can do to help us make better sustainable choices for conservation, for climate change? How do we make it a priority, and what do we do?
I guess the first most important thing here, which I continue to share to everyone that I speak with, is to really keep this conversation going. First off, don't let it die down anywhere, not even when COVID stops. Just keep talking about the environment, keep talking about conservation. You know, if you see who knows someone who's going through challenges because of the environment and how it's affecting them, talk about it, help them as much as you can. You know, I feel the more we engage in this conversation, the more our leaders would see how important it is for us as people in the country, and in that sense, they'd be able to really prioritize this as one of the key issues they need to address as a country. Especially the very personal stories, you know, like Kale, but even more than that. And you know, climate change and the environment is not just affecting people who are coastal dwellers. It's affecting those who are inland as well. You know, flash flooding, landslides, all this. It's affecting our food security. It's affecting biodiversity. It's causing social crisis within the communities. People trying to get up and go into other communities. It's not one crisis happening along. There's so many different things at one time. So just making sure this conversation keeps going is very important, and engaging in important discussions for the environment with important people is also crucial. But then not forgetting the very little things that you can do from home, like, you know, switching off the lights when you're not using it, switching off electricity when you're not using it, turning the tap off, you know, just making sure these little things are done at home, you know, not throwing your rubbish onto the streets, making sure it goes in the bin, avoiding unnecessary use of plastics. All this, it sounds so simple and it sounds so cliche. It's like we hear this a lot, but do we even practice it as much as we hear?
Yes.
That's the question we need to be asking ourselves. And that's really important that we start doing this in 2021, because there is no better place to start than to use, as you said, this crisis, this COVID-19 pandemic, as the opportunity to start off anew. So
wow.
I guess those are the best tips I can give.
No, I mean, it's fantastic. Go ahead.
I guess, you know, at the same time, making sure that you also not burn yourself out. Like you say, like when we're going through a lot, we don't want to be affecting our mental health. It's okay to say no to some things. If you can't do it, it's okay. But when you know you can, make sure you are doing it properly, and you know that you're doing your part, but you're doing it with heart. So passion. Everything that you care about, passion goes into it, and you know that way when you say no to something else, you know that you're sure that at least you've helped in some way. That makes you feel better.
I love the way you've balanced both sides, because it is absolutely true. I mean, each one of us can make a difference, and we should all try. But it is tough right now. People are overwhelmed, and it's okay to not be okay right now. And if you feel that this is the best you can do right now, that is 100% okay.
It's okay. Yeah.
You know, and when you feel up to it, you know, go at it again. And I think the most important thing you said, Gladys, and this is why it's so important, don't stop the conversations. Don't stop talking about the stuff. Let us not fall in the same terrible cycle that we have as humanity cultivated and fostered for too long, going down a road that we shouldn't have even begun going. This is the time for change. And you know, the youth, the young people, we, you know, no, I'm not that young anymore, but young people have a voice, and they, you know, we should encourage those people to have this voice and demand change from our governments, demand change from the global community, and talk about it's not okay, because this is our future. And I love how you've highlighted that, because it is so important. And I can just commend and applaud you for bringing it up, because I agree with you 100%, and keep on pushing for those things and being the voice. And I hope that you, and I know that you will continue these very important subjects and topics and really core activism issues as you continue on your journey through this year. So anything else that we should keep in mind, or that you would want us to keep in mind for this new year that we haven't talked about yet?
I guess coming back to oneself, with all that is going on, it's important to stay true to you. You don't want to be influenced into many different directions, and it's going to affect who you are as a person. You know, don't let the water around you get inside you and disturb your inner peace. Do what you think is right. And as I said, do it with heart. Don't burn yourself out. And remember that a lot of the issues that we are tackling now are global issues.
Yes.
It's something that we can't solve on our own. No matter how much we do, we can't solve it on our own. So we can only do the best that we can. And if you've given your best, and you know, that's it. You've done your part. So it's important that you stay true to yourself. Don't overdo it. And if you're you know, engaging in these conversations and having the chance to engage with other people around the world to share about what we're going through during this pandemic, make sure that you're telling your story as it is. You know, we don't want it to be too dramatic and then no one's going to be able to relate to us. We want it to be as true as possible, so that people can understand what each other are going through. And in that way, we can help build each other up more. And we know that we're doing it in the most honest way possible to ourselves and to those around us.
Spoken like a true global citizen and a true activist for the right things. I love that. That is a fantastic way for us to kind of conclude our crucial COVID conversation today. I'm going to ask you this, and before I ask you how we can get a hold of you, how people can help support your course. I know you do wonderful things for our National Referral Hospital, and you do lots. I want to hear how we can support you as well. But before I do this, I'm going to ask you this, because I know that there are a bunch of really phenomenal, dynamic, amazing Solomon Island people that should be part of this crucial COVID conversation. So if we put their names out here in public, you know, they're going to have to say yes to when we approach them. So is there any other inspiring human, anybody that you have thought about, ooh, this person should actually also be part of this crucial COVID conversation? Do you want to put a name out there or two that I can follow up with?
There's actually, I have a lot on my mind, but I think one very important person that has been doing a lot, especially in the environment, is Solomon Yeo. He is the director for Pacific Island students fighting climate change, and he's based here in Honiara, but they've got a lot of other young people involved in their group as well, and I support them a lot. And recently, if I heard correctly, they have been trying to engage in some teaching material for students in the remote communities here in Solomon Islands. And I think they're just about to kick that off. So I think that he is a very important person to talk to.
I would love to.
He's my age. He's very inspirational, especially for guys out here in Solomon Islands, especially
Yes, we have now put his name out there, so he has to say yes. I will connect with him. Thank you so much for that recommendation. I love that, and it sounds like he's doing amazing stuff, and we want to hear his story. So how do Gladys, how do people find you? How do we support the work that you do? How do we connect and help you to continue to be the strong voice that you are? Not just for the environment, but for young people and for women. How do we help you continue what you do?
I guess a lot of people, what they do is they contact me through my social media channels or on email, more formally. And as much as possible, what I've been trying to do is just keep the socials active so people can share and just engage in this communication conversations online, as we can't really do a lot of big gatherings at this time. It's still uncertainty here and there.
Yeah.
I've definitely got more plans, bigger plans coming in for this year, but I feel like I need to pin it down properly before I announce anything. But definitely stay tuned to my social channels, because that's where I will make all the announcements. And to support the National Referral Cancer Hospital, you can also send me a message or an email, and I'll give you the bank account details. You can donate funds, or you could choose to donate an item, whichever is preferable for you. I want it to be something that you know where your money is going, kind of thing. Like, I don't want you to just throw it out there and then not know what happened to it. So I can give you a list of items that we could possibly need for the cancer unit, and then you could probably choose from there. So that's how I'm doing it at this time. And definitely got bigger plans coming in, especially for us females, girls, ladies out there. Definitely keep watching my space. I'll come out with some fantastic news.
Oh, I love that. So basically she's saying, watch this space, there is more coming. And I'm your biggest fan, one of your biggest supporters. I'll be there. I'll help where I can. Yes, so, and then also very important, if you have some extra resources or cash or things running around, you have a passion for the Pacific Islands and specifically for the Solomon Islands, please help us from the cancer unit. There is always needs there, and as Gladys has already mentioned, it can be funds, or it can be some other things as well, and she's really ready and able to help you facilitate whatever you want to donate or want to assist and support. From my side, I want to thank you so much for, first of all, joining me for this crucial COVID conversation. But more importantly, I want to thank you. I am passionate. I feel like Solomon's is my home. I am passionate about the islands and the people. And I want to thank you for what you are doing for us, our islands. And I want to thank you for being this amazing force of nature and this voice that is now not just staying locally, but is making an impact globally, internationally. Continue to be the shining light that you are. You have our support, and thank you so much on behalf of all of us for being that voice, and don't let that voice quiet down, ever.
That's so nice of you to say. Thank you for being very encouraging, and thank you also for having this podcast series started. I think it's a really important way of, like we said, and keeping this conversation going. So kudos to you for that. I'm really really thankful to be chosen to come up and share my story, and I look forward to following you more with all the other amazing people that you are going to have to share their experiences as well.
Thank you so much, Gladys. I appreciate it. We'll be in touch soon. Keep on doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much.